What's up, guys? Welcome to Daily Dose of Reddit. This is your host, Zach, and today's subreddit is r/EntitledParents.
This story's called Drunk Entitled Mother Pulls a Knife on a Cashier. Before I start, I'll explain a few things. I'm a 16-year-old male, not particularly strong, but I do Krav Maga to a decent standard. Krav Maga is a hybrid self-defense style that focuses on ending fights quickly and efficiently. Here's our cast. Nice kid, drunk mother, sweet cashier, and me. So this happened a couple of weeks ago, and I only thought to put it on Reddit now. Basically, my mom hasn't been feeling so great, so I've taken up shopping duties for the time being. I was buying some milk in the local supermarkets and had just arrived at the tills when I saw a kid on his own in front of me with a pretty big haul of shopping. As it turned out, he was from my Krav Maga class. Because my teacher likes me, I typically help out with training the younger students, and this kid was one to whom I was a close mentor. I said hello and we talked a little. His mom had left him next to the shopping to pick up something she had forgotten. We all know the feeling of approaching the cashier without a parent nearby, which gave us time to chat about training and stuff. Nothing too in-depth, but when we came to the cashier, his mother still hadn't arrived, meaning I had to apologize to the young cashier for the wait. I heard a small commotion behind me and turned around just in time for my face to be directly in front of that of a seemingly half-drunk woman. Short hair, looked about 100 kilos, and her breath was rancid. Don't tell me that's his mother, I thought. But unfortunately, my suspicions were confirmed when I saw the recognition between the mother and son. I greeted her and told her about my mentoring of her son, but she didn't listen. Instead, she made a noise and turned to the cashier before producing a wad of coupons and pushing them towards the poor lady at the tills. With a sigh, she rifled through them, looking up at the half-drunk beast in front of her and sweetly told her that they were invalid. I don't remember the exact confrontation, but the words were something to this effect. "Step off, check again." Sweet cashier was rifling through them again. "Sorry, they're all expired or for a different store." "No, look, this one says expires on the 20th of December. Being a bit of a nosy person, I listened in. It was starting to click with me that this woman, between her previous demeanor and her slightly slurred speech, must have been at least half drunk. "I'm sorry, madam, that's the 20th December last year." "Last year, my booty." Entitled mother then proceeded to reach into her purse and retrieved a small number of credit cards. Trying them one by one, they failed again and again. I couldn't help but feel sorry for her, considering her seemingly bad financial position, until I noticed a sudden change in tone. "The frick do you mean none of them work? I used them yesterday and they worked just fine." "I guess you ran out of credit or something. Do you have any other means of pay?" "Just give them to me. I'll take them as compensation for your poor customer service." I'm afraid I can't do that, ma'am. You'll have to pay, or I can get someone to help you take these items back." There was a moment of silence before Entitled Mother began clumsily rooting around in her handbag. Nice Kid seemed worried, which probably should have foreshadowed the upcoming scenario. The poor cashier's eyes widened as Entitled Mother finally dragged her hand out of the bag to reveal a knife. Now, before we go any further, you should understand something about UK knife laws. Whilst it is legal to carry most knives on your person as long as the blade is under 3 inches, there are a few types that you cannot carry regardless of length. A good guide to this can be found here, but the knife used by Entitled Mother here was a switchblade. For those of you who don't know, this is essentially a knife that has a button in the hilt that causes the blade to extend from it. Illegal to carry in the UK, but I guess Entitled Mother didn't really care. On with the story. Entitled Mother flicked the blade out and pointed it in the general direction of Sweet Cashier. She muttered something about disrespect as she moved closer and grabbed a bottle of wine from the till. I will admit I was crapping myself here, but I knew that I should have done something, so I stupidly put a hand on Entitled Mother's shoulder to try and stop her. This earned me a small nick on my cheek, and it became clear to me that Entitled Mother didn't really know what she was doing. She swung again, and I caught her arm and removed the knife from her hand, kicking it away. Surprisingly, she didn't try to reach for the knife. So we stared at each other for a while in a sort of awkward tango position until we heard the police arrive. Fortunately, they handled the situation and arrested entitled mother, taking statements from sweet cashier, nice kid, and me before they left with entitled mother and nice kid in tow. I don't really know what she got charged with, but nice kid is living with his aunt now, so she must have lost custody. I haven't seen sweet cashier in the local supermarket recently, so I assume she got some time off to recover. I'm personally glad that no one got properly injured, and I guess it makes a good story for me to tell. During last week's Krav Maga training, I got talking to nice kid. Turns out his parents had been going through a messy divorce for a few months. No one could agree on anything and it dragged out, causing entitled mother to turn to alcohol. I'm super glad nice kid got out of that situation and he seems much happier now that he's living with his aunt. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed my story. Hey, good on our Redditor here for stopping a knife assault in progress, potentially. But yeah, that's really sad. But yeah, it's a good thing that the nice kid got out of that situation before it got too extreme. And yes, I 100% could understand what the dude was talking about. There's been so many times where my parents have left me in line at the grocery store and we're getting closer to the cashier and I'm like, oh no, and my parents are like, not there, and I'm like, ah! This story's called Pregant Lady Tries to Fight Me. This is my first post here and I have quite a few entitled bench stories from my time in New Mexico. For this story, I shall take us back to 2010. My classes just let out from New Mexico State University, and I decided to get some Chinese food for my grandparents and I before heading home. Ordering and receiving my food was easy enough, and I was driving out of the parking lot. I see a red car put its reverse lights on as I'm driving by. They literally just came on, and if I stopped, I would have blocked her in, so I kept going. The woman lead foots the gas and rams right into my driver's side. She hit my car so hard it almost flipped over. My car was almost completely sideways before it dropped back down. I had to kick open my door in order to get out and look at the rest of the damage. As I'm looking at this lady's car, waiting for her to get out, I realize she has a child in the passenger seat, who she actually made to get out first. This kid comes up to me and says, "Accidents happen," as her mother is slowly getting out of the car and stands behind her. Now I'm mad. This bench is trying to use her child as a shield, and I was not going to have it. Why don't you have your kid wait in the car while I call the police? She looks absolutely terrified. Her daughter looked embarrassed. But at least the lady agreed and let her kid listen to music. The cops would not come out because the restaurant is private property, and unless the owner called, I had to handle this myself. The darn dispatch lady even said the street I was on did not exist. The stupidity in that town still amazes me to this day. So I grab my insurance and ask for the lady's. She turns red and admits she has insurance, but her sister was renewing it today and would have to have her bring it to her. I told her to call her sister and get the insurance because I wouldn't be going anywhere until I have all her information. It took 45 minutes in a town where it only takes 20 to get across the whole town. I am beyond angry, but putting my best foot forward to be kind and just get this over with. When her sister finally gets to the restaurant, she bolts out of her car and immediately starts screaming at me that she was an engineering student and judging by the damage, her sister couldn't have done this damage to my car. This is our heavily pregnant entitled bench. Like watermelon under her shirt pregnant. Our argument went along these lines.
My sister didn't do this. You're just trying to get a new car.
I can ask the restaurant for their camera footage if you like. I did not just spend an hour in the sun for nothing. Give me your insurance so I can get out of here already. I don't bother arguing over the fact I wasn't lying. I did not want to feed her more. This bimbo glared at me and got within inches of my face.
I'm not giving a lying POS like you anything. How can you prove my sister hit you? You're just looking to upgrade from this piece of dookie.
This is where she starts that darn finger jabbing the air by my face thing. I hate that, and in my experience, those actions always lead to a fight. So I got an idea to squash this before it got physical. Look, lady, if you want to fight, you have to realize your stomach will be fair game. Her jaw drops and she just blinks at me as I smirk at her. Her sister is just watching all this go down and won't intervene. And now, finally, I'm assuming her man gets out of her car and comes over. He hands me the insurance so I can copy it down while he makes his woman move towards the car. The whole time I'm copying down information, I can see and hear her still screaming about how her sister is not responsible for crashing into me as he tries to push her into the car. I handed the paper back to the actual lady that hit my car and suggested that her sister learn some control before someone teaches her a lesson, and to be grateful I did not call the police on her for her threatening behavior. Joke's on all of them. Their insurance totaled out my car and gave me 3 times what my car was worth, and my new one was a black Chevy Malibu with all the bells and whistles. Thanks, baseball pitcher. Host scriptum. For any of those triggered by my threat to a pregnant woman, she was a threat to me and I had to shut her down before it became physical. If she actually did try to hit me, I would not have gone for her stomach. But she didn't need to know that. You know what? You gotta admire this dude's threat, okay? Like, as he said, I knew he wouldn't go for the stomach, but that definitely shut her up. God, that was genius, dude. I love it. Also, is that police thing real there? I feel like if you call the police, they should be able to go anywhere you call them to, because what's the point of an emergency line if you can't even use it? If you can clarify, let us know in the comments below if that's an actual thing. This story's called McDonald's Does Not Serve Richard Heads. I would hope not, because that would be prostitution. So a few weeks ago, at the McDonald's where I work, I got a very annoying request from an entitled mother. I was working up the front where the customers are serviced and I'm a kitchen person, and was still learning how to work the front, when a mother walks up to the counter while holding her son's hand. He was maybe 5 or 6. The mother ordered a Happy Meal for her son, luckily very simple for me to accept, while she ordered something very challenging. She ordered a wrap that was discontinued a year ago, and I told her that myself, but she was adamant on getting what she wanted. Regardless of how many times I told her, she was getting madder and madder at me for something I had no control of. Eventually, she asked if she could talk to my manager, which I hesitantly did. My manager walks over and listens to what she has to say. He told her the same thing as me, but she wanted that darn wrap. By now, the Happy Meal was ready and was given to my manager and I to serve. So we sent it out with just the Happy Meal and nothing else. My manager patted me on the back and said, "I won't make you work front again." Alright, a short little sweet story. I liked it because the manager was like, hey, I get it. People suck, that's why you can stay in the kitchen. This story's called, My Mother Freaks Out When My Spouse Leaves Me and I Can No Longer Pay Her Bills. For as long as I can remember, my mother has worked several jobs to pay her bills. As an adult, I got married and our combined income was pretty good, so we decided we could help take some financial stress off of her. So we started paying her phone bill and her utilities and bringing bags of groceries by once a week or so. Then one day her car died and we decided to surprise her with a new one. We picked out a new, smaller silver Toyota. Mid-range, not all the bells and whistles, but still a nice car. When we gave it to her, she seemed very appreciative and happy. We told her we'd pay the monthly payment, the registration, and insurance. The rest was up to her. She still worked full-time, but I had no idea where her money went. The plan was for her to take all those bills on again one day. We just never set a time for it to happen. Fast forward 2 years later, and out of the blue, my wife cheated and took off, leaving me with a ton of debt, a house I couldn't afford on my own, and a broken heart. I called my mom and sobbed over the phone to her about how terrible I felt. She was sympathetic until I told her I wouldn't be able to pay her bills anymore. In fact, she became totally silent. Are you there? Did you just say I have to start paying my bills again? Like my car payment and insurance? Yeah, I can't afford it anymore with just my salary. Plus, I'm gonna lose my house. I can't afford to start paying these bills. Mom, I had no idea this was gonna happen. I literally have no control over this. I didn't even want this car. I hate silver. You gave me silver knowing how much I prefer white vehicles. And now you're telling me I have no choice but to pay for an ugly silver car I didn't want? Plus all the other things like insurance? You're the one who gave me those bills. Why should I pay them? I'm speechless at her response. And then she shrieks, "How could you do this to me? It's one sentence from her I'll never forget or forgive her for. My sadness turned to anger in a split second.
How could I do this to you? My wife left me. I'm alone and feel like crap. I'm going to lose my house and my credit is going to be screwed. I barely make enough for my own bills and you're going on about you? I've been paying your bills for over 5 years. Did you never once think that one day they'd be your bills again? Did you ever plan to pay things yourself again, or were you just assuming I'd keep paying everything until you die? You are the crappiest mother on the planet. I'm here heartbroken, lost, and depressed, and the only thing you can think about is yourself.
I hung up on her and cried even more. Maybe 15 minutes later, my phone rings, and it's my sister. Figuring she'd just gotten off the phone with our mother, I answer. Okay, you talked to Mom? What do you want? She's very upset.
So? What about me? Is it that nobody cares what I'm going through right now? My life is in shambles and I'm devastated.
Well, you can't really blame Mom. You bought her that car, she didn't ask for it. And she does only own white cars.
She didn't have a car at all. If I hadn't gotten her that one, she'd have had to get a new one anyway. She's been driving it for over 2 years. Besides, she said at some point she'd be taking those bills back on. When was that gonna happen?
You may just have to work something out with her. Just pay a little to help her get back on her feet. You can't just totally stop helping her.
Yes I can. I ran the numbers. I literally do not have a penny to give her anymore, and you know what? Even if I did, I wouldn't. I've been doing this for her for years, and the way she acted today, she doesn't deserve it. If she needs money, from here on out it's on you. This is the one time I need my family for support, and clearly I'm not gonna get it.
She tried to defend the way my mother acted, but I just hung up on her too. I put my phone on silent and sat with my dogs in the dark, thinking about how I had nobody to lean on since my mother and sister were such entitled, selfish human beings. After that first phone call, my mother did not reach out to me again to see how I was doing. I learned the hard way who my real friends and family were during that time. And spoiler alert, it wasn't my mother. Okay, that is incredibly sad. That is not a good mother, okay?
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.